Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video of something that I thought was pretty funny. So I've been kind of into drones and multi-rotors for about 8 or 9 months now, and it all started with a little Hubsan X4, and that's what I'm flying now in this video. So that kind of got me bit by the bug, just flying that thing around and recording videos and seeing how it handled, how far away I could fly it. Well, in this video, I had been flying around my neighborhood and just buzzing around with it. This is the Hubsan X4 HD. So I take it out into our little common area and start taking it up until I almost can't see it in the sky. It's a pretty tiny drone. So I'm flying, everything's going normal, and got a little shake. And then I don't know what happens, but I think it lost connection to the receiver and just tumbles out of the sky and plops down on my roof. And we don't have a ladder, and these townhomes are kind of tall. So there it sat, and I will spare you the 8 hours of video it recorded on the roof while it was sitting there, and then eventually the battery died and the recording stopped. So it sat there for 6 months. In the meantime, I've built a hexacopter, I've built a quadcopter based off of CX20, I've got a racing drone, so now I'm all in. But I really wanted to fly FPV with a little micro drone. So I got one of those little all-in-one cameras. I believe it's an Eachine MC01. I think I've got another video on my channel of me flying this thing around, so that's a sneak preview of what happens. But I'm really cheap, so I figure I've got this micro drone up on the roof. Why don't I try to get that off? So here I am. I've attached a loop of rope from the bottom of my hexacopter, and I'm dragging it across my neighbor's roof, which is freaking me out a little bit because if something goes wrong, it's going to crash down on my neighbor's roof and not on mine. But I'm dragging this along, and I'm also just doing this line of sight. I don't have a live FPV feed, but I do have a camera on here recording. So I'm just dragging this thing back and forth across this roof, trying to snag the little thing. Oh, almost got it. So I'm standing back, I don't know, 100 feet something, so where I can get an angle to where I can kind of see this and try to line it up and then try to drop this thing down low enough to where it spreads out across the roof and then drag it back and hopefully knock it off the roof and onto the ground. So I lower it down here on this last attempt and drag it away, and you'll see that I snag it. But what you can't see is it gets hung up on some of the shingles, and I just pull it down into the gutter. Now, that's both good and bad. The bad thing is now it's stuck in the gutter. The good thing is it's far enough down on the roof that I can reach it with this golf ball retriever stick that I have. So I attach a camera to the end of that with a hanger and bend a little hook in it. And I attach my Xiaomi camera to that pole and turn on the Wi-Fi and start streaming back to my iPhone so that I can try to get a real-time image of what's going on and see if I can hook it. So I'm up on top of a stepladder with this giant hook, just trying to feel this thing out from inside the gutter. So I keep sending it up, and the video coming back to my iPhone is dropping out. The Wi-Fi strength on that Xiaomi isn't that strong, and I'm getting it over the top of a roof, so there's a lot of interference. There's also a lot of interference from other people's Wi-Fi signals. So I spent a lot of time recording while I'm doing this, and then bringing the camera down, plugging it into the laptop, and then watching back the full recording in HD so I can kind of spot where it is. And so after banging around on it with this, I've gotten it wedged here right into the corner. And what I noticed the last time I watched this clip was that the battery connector was forming a nice little loop. And so I'm trying to snag that with this hook. But what keeps happening is I keep snagging the edge of the gutter, and that freaks me out that now this whole rig is stuck up there somehow and I'll never be able to unwedge it. So a couple times I just start pulling on it as hard as I can to try to get it unhooked. So here it is, it gets stuck underneath the gutter, and I'm looking at the phone trying to see what I've got snagged, and eventually then I'm able to get it off. And I've tried long enough here. I go in for another attempt, and I almost hit it, but didn't quite get it. So I bring it back down and decide I'm going to review the footage and see where it is. So now I come back up with it, and I know it's right there in the corner, and I've knocked it loose. And so now I'm trying to snag that little loop. I just keep trying and trying and trying, and again, the live feed isn't working real well, so I'm just guessing and hoping and praying that I can snag this thing. And eventually I get one of the motor arms snagged, but then the one arm is hooked underneath the gutter, so I'm just pulling and shaking and jerking it around, and eventually it does pop free of the gutter, and I recover the drone. And so after some new motors, it really only took 2 new motors. Obviously the battery was shot because it had gone 100% dead. So I put 2 new motors on it, and then I attached that MC01 all-in-one FPV camera on it, and I also replaced the shell on it. But that was really all it took. I put a new shell, 2 new motors, put a new battery in it, bound up with the transmitter just fine, and it flies perfectly. The other thing that was shocking is I was able to, at the beginning of this video, you saw I was able to recover the video from the SD card that it recorded and sat up there for 6 months in the cold and the wind and the rain and everything, and it was perfect. So that's me, an idiot, rescuing my Hubsan X4.